Hi, welcome to Fit Moment. This is a short exercise, not a short exercise. This is a short fit moment where we demonstrate and talk about complicated things in our workouts, things that we can add in or things that we don't understand or, all that kind of thing. One of the reasons I decided today's fit moment was going to be about stretching the upper body. The stretching the upper body is a lot different from stretching the lower body. The muscle groups are smaller, they're more complex, they have more tendons and ligaments running through them, and our joints are really, really willing to do anything. So if we tell the shoulder, I want to throw you back, the shoulder will go back because it's a pliable joint. So one of the things that we have to do is for ourselves, we have to understand that we have to limit these kinds of stretches, still do good stretches, but limit their range of motion or break their range of motion up. So see, I do it when I'm not trying to do it, so that we can keep the shoulder safe. The upper body injury that's most common is rotator cuff. We also are going to talk about the neck and the different areas of the neck, and then some of the stretches around the back and the pectoralis. So I'm going to start with the neck. I'll start head down. So we all do the neck exercises where we move the shoulder away, I grab behind here, take it over to the other side. That's a nice, safe exercise. What it does is it separates the scalenes. The scalenes kind of run from the ear down to the collar, right? So it separates the scalenes. And what that's good for is for people who sleep on their backs and they have their head in a cervical curve all night long, or they sleep on their stomachs, or you're looking in one direction at something all day long. Say your computer monitor is off to the side and that's the kind of work you do, or even looking up at your computer monitor, you get compression, right? We get compression in our necks. So pushing, I focus on the scalenes because they connect to the shoulder, and that's one of the reasons I do that more than I do the cervical vertebrae. But the cervical vertebrae are really, really important. Now, you'll find a lot of instructors will take you around in circles. I don't do that because I really feel like compression of the cervical vertebrae in the back, don't do it, feels like it can push your nerves into squeezing them into the vertebrae, which will create neural pain. So one of the things I like to do, besides take the scalenes, open the scalenes, is to open the cervical curve diagonally. So what I'm doing is, rather than pushing it down where they're together, I'm just isolating them. So I take them over to that shoulder. I always say, put your chin on your shoulder and look down, and then you get the cervical curve separated, stretched without any pressure on it. So I really don't love this pushback at all. So cervical curve over here. Now I will do the joint one because it's nice to feel your head lift out of your collar and lift out of your neck. So feeling that happen is really good, but don't push down too hard. You don't want to jerk your chin toward your chest. So we'll take that cervical curve over this way. Nice. So to get more of that opening, because right here, when you're pushing back, there's no benefit for the vertebrae because you're compressing the vertebrae, but you are opening the thyroid, the neck, and the gland. So one of the things you can do is put your hands on each side of your jaw and just lift up right here. So you get the benefit of the pushback, the thing that happens when you're pushing the head back. So your neck stretches will be scalenes, half the cervical curve, the whole cervical curve, and then a lift up toward the center. And you can push that over to the side, do an isolated active stretch here, push it over to the side, and you feel how much stretch there is there. So lift it up and push, bring it back to center, lift it up and push. So, and you'll find areas of stress that you want to get rid of right here in your neck. So that's what I prefer for the neck. You of course can follow any guru that you want, but this guru is saying, let's not push it back on the cervical curve. There's no benefit in it. So let's just always keep it lifted and separated because we want to have that C curve, that reverse C curve in our necks forever and ever. And that's a big challenge for me. So as I was talking about the shoulders are the most pliable joint in the body. They really are. And you will hear a lot of people talk about how they're double jointed in the shoulders. Well, that's no biggie, because the shoulders, I mean, when we go back to that pec stretch, look how far back our shoulders can go. So we have the capacity to really move those shoulders back. So that's where we have to be super careful. So one of the things that I suggest is that we do the things that do all that work, but we don't try to hyperextend. And the other thing that I hope that you can do when you do that is keep your head over your tailbone, because you don't want to challenge your shoulders by coming forward or back, and keeping the knees bent so you have pliability through the rest of your body. So shoulder circles, we do three kind. We've done three kind for a long time. We do the small circle. I'll just do four. The small circle, and I call that in the shoulder. And then we do the larger circle. We'll come up to our ear. Make sure your arms are loose. And that grabs a little bit of your shoulder blade. So what happens is you start to make connections along the posterior chain and then forward. And then we try to get our back into it by those elbows. I usually do this individually, but I want to cover a lot of things in this 10 minutes. And then that gets a little bit more of your back. So what if you're a person who can't circle because you have frozen shoulder, or because you've been told to limit your shoulder movement, or because you have an instinct about your shoulder being delicate? So one of the things you can do is reach out. Now this feels like a waist exercise, but it's also extending that shoulder. So flex the hand, push the hand, flex the hand, point the hand. Same thing on the other side. Flex the hand, point the hand, flex the hand, point the hand. And you're reaching through that shoulder, all right? And you're not doing any rotations, but it's separating in those fibers and those tendons so that you get the same impact. And you've seen me do that one where we reach the arm out and we bring the shoulder across and we wipe. So that's the same kind of thing. You're opening it and you're moving it and you're allowing the joints to just get really extended, and flexion is coming inward. Last one on this side, and then on the other side. So being careful with those shoulders doesn't mean not doing the work, right? We want to make sure that we get all of the shoulders stretched, because neglecting the shoulders is as harmful as overstretching the shoulders. You can also do other kinds of reaches, flexing your hand down beside your hip. You can feel that open, and then point it up. Flex it down and point it up. Flex it down. You feel that from the front? It's a different angle. Flex it down and point it up. Last one. And then other side. Flex it down and point it up. Flex it down and point it up. Flex it down. Last one. Flex it down and point it up. Now, one of the things that's really important in all of the shoulder work that we do is the shoulder blades. Now, the shoulder blades are interesting because they can move without us moving the shoulders. So if you feel the shoulder blades, hopefully you can see this. You can actually put the arms at a diagonal. They're right in front of your eyes at a diagonal. They're parallel and the palms are facing each other. Your knees are soft, and then you actually push those shoulders down. And what you will feel is an opening in the chest. So you push those shoulders down your body. So a lot of what we do is reach, 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 reach. Now, if the reach is hard on your shoulders, what you do is shoulder blade, shoulder blade, shoulder blade, shoulder blade, shoulder blade, and you're getting the same kind of motion, except it's more isolated. It's deconstructed. So you can do it side and then side, side and then side, and then both shoulder blades down. So I'm a big proponent of finding angles. So one of the things with any of these things, with the flex and point, with the sweep out, is to take it to different angles so that you can always be working every angle of the shoulder that is around. It's a rotator. So it's a round joint, right? Like the hip, it's a round joint. So we aren't working the sides. We are working in a sphere. So finding those curves, and in the shoulder blade drop, make it a diagonal shoulder blade drop. Diagonal on the other side, same thing. Find those rotations so that you can feel more flexibility in the shoulders. You will see a lot of people suggest collapsing and opening, that's actually a back stretch. So for the shoulders, I don't love it because it pushes your shoulders too far in one direction and the other. But for the back, if you have your shoulders steady, then creating that cat, you actually don't push the shoulders that much. You really do put it through the back and then creating the cow. So as you can see, my shoulders didn't move, my elbows moved, but my shoulders stayed right where they were, right? So one of the things I want to separate in our brain is the shoulder flexion and extension during cat and cow as being a shoulder exercise. And I'm only doing standing ones today. There are lots of shoulder exercises on the floor. We will do that in another fit moment because just the upper body is going to take up the time that we have for the upper body. Okay, so we did the head, we did the neck, we did the shoulders. I want to talk about the hands. Now, a lot of people don't do their hands or their wrists. Remember how we did the toes when we massaged and we got between the digits and all that stuff? The hands are different. You're going to create big wide fingers right here. And that's one way you're going to do the hand. And you're going to try to flex them up, like pull them up. Now, this also helps your wrist. Now, I have metal in one of my wrists, so it's a little difficult, but you're going to bring them up. And then you're going to cat them and bring them down. And that helps, again, helps get the wrists open too. The hands need to have mobility. So doing hula things with your hands, right? Hula, hula, hula. Do 4 of them on this side, 2, 3, and 4. And one of the reasons I'm suggesting the hands a lot is as you get older, a lot of people get arthritis in their hands. And partially because that's one of the places where we do repetitive motion. Holding a pen or a mouse or being on our pads or screens of any kind. And then and that's like exercise with the hands, and then we don't do a stretch. So would you do a whole workout without doing a stretch? Well, that's what you're doing when you're working all day or part of the day or even 1 hour with your hands, and you're just not giving those hands any mobility. And I had a stress ball around here somewhere. I have my little roller, but not my stress ball. Anyway, if you have a stress ball, of course, you want to do the hand pulses, right? So that you can get the wrist and the hands, because they are not separable, right? The wrists and the hands pliable and relieved, right? It might even feel hard to do it, but it's actually going to relieve. I can't find any of my things. Relieve, I think I prepare. Release of those repetitive motions. Keeping the fist and doing the wrists is also great for your wrists, and then doing them the other way. So reverse it. Whenever you circle something in one direction, make sure you circle it in the other. So let's work up the arms. Forearms. A lot of people don't stretch their forearms. I'm one of them. You flex and you bring it to a reach, and then you point and you bring it down, and you're going to get those forearms. One of the things that's interesting about doing the wrist, the hand, and the forearms is it's hard to distinguish them from one another. And so you can use your roller and roll it out front and back. Get a tennis ball, roll it out front and back. And I'm sorry, guys, I should have had my equipment. I don't have it. And another thing you do is a reverse push. And that gets your forearms and your triceps and biceps. Right? So that's opening. So that's a really good stretch. We do that a lot. So we're getting a lot of the wrist, the hand, the triceps and biceps, and the forearms when we do that. So if you have no time at all, this is what you want to do. Now, when you do this, shoulder blades down. So it's really easy, right? To push your shoulders up in this, shoulder blades down, right? And push forward. This is another thing where you can take in a lot of directions, right? To create different kinds of effects. All right, so wow, it took 15 minutes to do neck and shoulder and hands and forearms and biceps and triceps and a little bit of the back. So I'm going to save the back and the pecs for later. So I think that's a lot to remember today. Anytime you want to get more than one thing, just create big hugs and big reaches. I'd rather have you do big hugs and big reaches for the back, shoulders, neck, and arms than overdo isolations, because you have your body supporting you in that kind of movement. So that's kind of my preference. This is really one of the big ones. But again, if you're working those hands all day, I would really get a little roller, a little ball, a stress ball, or when you're doing nothing, stretch those fingers and hands out so that you can get more strength and release. Okay. Thank you for watching Fit Moment. I hope these are helpful things. I know it's not a workout, but I think it really gets us understanding, especially as we're growing older, and we need to support our dwindling tendons and ligaments. These are things you can't rebuild. So we have to support them because we want to use them.